Mandukya Karika, Pranam Mantra. Om Bhadram Karne Bhishnuyam Deva Bhadram Pashe Makshabhirya Jatra Sthirairangai Stustuvagam Sastanuvihi Vyashema Deva Hitam Yadayu Swasti na Indro Vriddhashava Swasti na Pusha Vishwaveda Swasti nastakshyo Aristanemi Swasti no Brihaspatirdadhatu Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. We have nearly reached the end of the third chapter. And in the previous talk, it was verse number 41, shlok number 41, and it very beautifully said how mind is brought under control. It said, the way, theoretically speaking, you can empty an ocean of its water by taking a blade of grass and picking water drop by drop. You can empty the ocean. Just like that, you sit for meditation, and the thoughts that arise, you have to strike down those thoughts one by one. And Acharya Shankar very beautifully says that one of the very important things for doing this is that you should be khed sunya. Khed sunya means it has to be, your mind has to be bereft of any kind of depressive tendency. Avsad. The technical term is avsad. Avsad is not only depressive, it also, actually, the opposite of it is more important, which is utsaha. You should always be full of enthusiasm. Swami Vivekananda used to say, long faces do not make a spiritual person. You have to be joyful. And the joy has to be bubble from within. And it shouldn't be part-time, it should be a 24-hour thing. Your mind should always be full of joy. Because when you are full of joy, mind it, it's not exuberance. Exuberance is a different thing. Joy is a different thing. When you are full of joy, lots of your thoughts are burned down. You might have noted when you are slightly low, when you are feeling low, dejected, desolate, all those words are there, a bit depressed. Your mind is full of thoughts. And those thoughts keep on racing and racing. But when you are full of joy, when there is a sense of joy within you, not many thoughts come to your mind. If you go through the literature that deals with meditation in one of the many paths that we have, all of them will say that you have to be joyful. And when they say joyful, they don't mean to say that you have to be full of mirth, lightheartedness. No, joy. You identify yourself with God. You identify yourself with Atman, with Brahman. There is to be joy within you. As you all know that there's a difference between joy and mere happiness. If you are joyful, that itself takes care of lots of your mental problems. And from this verse number 41, Mandukya Karika discusses the obstacles in the path of knowledge. Essentially, the discussion starting this verse is about the obstacles that one faces during meditation. So, we will have a very short overview of what is meditation and what are the obstacles. Why we need to discuss meditation. Those of you who have studied Gita, and if you are interested, we have Gita talks in English on our channel. You will see that each of the 18 chapters has been named Yoga. That means each chapter is a path. However, very broadly speaking, we have this Gyan Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, etc. And you'll find that the element of meditation is in every chapter. If you study Gita very carefully, if you go deep into it, you'll realize that element of meditation is there in Bhakti Yoga also. It's there in, of course, in Dhyan Yoga. In Karma Yoga also it is there. In Gyan Yoga also it is there. So meditation is very important. And in the beginning of 6th chapter of Gita, it is very clearly stated, and Acharya Shankar beautifully explains that anyone who wants to take up the path of spirituality, he first has to work. You have to work a lot. As you keep on working a lot of dross that is there inside you burns down. And once you start working unselfishly, when we say unselfishly, it means you dedicate the results of work to God. Or you say that, well, I'm not going to be affected by its results. My job is to work, I'll work. So some level of mental purity is attained. Once some level of mental purity is attained, you are ready for meditation. When we say we are ready for meditation, essentially we mean to say that you are now ready for the first steps spirituality. See, my very dear listeners, sometimes I do get annoyed by some of the questions asked and by certain things that I see passing off in the name of spirituality. But I'm a teacher, I mean well. I don't mean to hurt anybody, I don't mean to insult anybody. However, the values and understanding in the society are changing. But what I mean to say that I'm a well-wisher of everyone. And so anything that I say shouldn't be taken as an insult or as some kind of hurt. What you normally practice as spirituality, what you normally understand about spirituality is not always correct. People come to meet me and sometimes they mail me, and people are quite eager to be spiritual, but they don't realize that spirituality spirituality is a difficult path and time taking. It takes time. You can't hurry through things. First step is you have to work. Now, what happens is when you start working, your mind becomes active because meditation can be done only by an intensely active mind. When we say intensely active mind, we mean to say if the mind is passive, if a person is tamasic, inert, dull, a man who lives in stupor, he cannot practice meditation. When we see images of sadhus and yogis who are sitting still, they did not reach that level of stillness by being tamasic, by being inert. The idea is that when you want to go for meditation, your mind has to be intensely active. If you have ever seen two wrestlers fighting, actually, or on television or movie, you might see that when the two wrestlers meet, they hold each other's hands and they stand still. Normally, you might think that they're just standing still doing the thing. No, tremendous amount of force is being applied. Tremendous amount of force. Mind is like that. You need huge amount of preparation so that your mind becomes active. And it becomes so active that in the ultimate state, it appears to be totally silent. But actually, it's not silent, it's intensely active. But as you realize, as you become more and more active, as you find most upper class people are today all over the world, you tend to become extremely self-centered and selfish. To get out of it, you have to practice unselfishness at various levels. Your whole personality has to be dedicated to unselfishness. And unselfishness comes through two different ways. One is you dedicate all your actions to God, or you say that I am doing it because I have to do it. You don't want to avoid something, you don't want to seek something. If good result comes, well and good. If unfavorable result comes, well and good. See, that's how life has to go. Mind is now intensely active. Mind is also now a bit pure. Unselfish mind is a pure mind. When we talk about purity of mind, it's not merely about having a good character. Purity of mind means unselfishness. When we become violent, when we become obsessed, when we have sex desires, these are also born of selfishness. Selfishness is at the root of all evil. Whatever evil you see in the society, whatever evil you see within you is all born of selfishness. So now some amount of selfishness has gone down because you have worked hard. Now in the Ramakrishna mission where I am, the work that we perform are generally entrusted to us by our headquarters. And you keep on doing it for years. And suddenly one fine morning they say that, okay, fine. Now you are transferred. Now you go to some other place. So what happens? Whatever you did, it remains there and you move. So this system forces you to be unselfish. Then you might say that what about people who have transferable job? No, they're different. There are differences because in transferable job, you are getting a salary, you are getting certain perks, etc. However, there will be some amount of detachment will come, no doubt about it, but not at the level that the monks have. Once you have been working in this organization unselfishly, because monks don't take any salary, they don't get any perks, they don't have just, wherever you are, the food that they give you and the shelter that they give you, that's the only thing you get. So that way, slowly, your mind starts becoming unselfish and starts becoming pure. And then you get into meditation. How do you meditate? That is best described by Raj Yoga. Raj Yoga is the best thing that systematically describes how to meditate. However, what Raj Yoga says is not the only path because Raj Yoga talks about 8 steps: yam, niyam, asan, pranayam. No, that's not needed. If you have picked up certain basic qualities in life, some amount of unselfishness, because when they talk about yam and niyam, they are talking about getting established in those qualities, values, and virtues. That may not be possible because you can do those things simultaneously too. And then asan, pranayam, pratyahar. If you keep on practicing these things, it takes a lot of time. There's a shortcut, and that is meditating on God. As Patanjali beautifully says, Tajjapas tadarth bhavanam. Keep on taking his name, keep on meditating on his form. This is the most common practice we have today in India. When we practice yoga, you see people keep on talking about yoga, and I've met many foreigners who have memorized the whole of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, and they are quite quite popular with the foreigners. The foreigners, they know more about yoga than we Indians now know. However, the description that Patanjali gives is just a part of it, or it's just a particular path. You can practice meditation by two more paths. One is mentioned by Patanjali himself, where he says, you meditate on some form of God. But that God should be represented by Om. We have many talks where we have discussed Om, and of course, Mandukya Upanishad itself is about Om. Now, God, if he represents Om, that means he is truly the God. You can take his name, and that mantra, taking name means taking a mantra from Guru and repeating that, doing japam and meditating on the meaning of it. This is this is the crucial aspect of meditation. You keep on repeating the name and you keep on meditating on its meaning, which is its form. In the process, as your mind starts throwing thoughts before you, those of you who practice meditation would know it really well. You need to strike down that thought. Like sometimes people come to us with various kinds of problems that they have during meditation. One simple way to meditate is, if you are true a meditator, we are not talking about the casual meditators. If you are serious about it, and if you are doing it regularly, and you find that some kind of thought keeps coming to your mind, best thing is let the mind go with it. 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, and then mind gets its fill. Mind becomes kind of satisfied with it, and then you say, no more. Now let us go back to what we were doing. This meditating on God. If you keep on doing it for months and years, slowly, your mind becomes extremely focused. So, what is the way to meditation? First, intense work, some level of purity, which means unselfishness. And then remember that no meditation, no serious meditation can be done unless you sit in an asana. Sitting in an asana means that your spine has to be straight. Like, for example, you can sit in a chair and you can meditate. The idea is that your spine has to be straight. However, with that comes a rider. Not only that spine has to be correct, you have to sit for long hours. Sitting for 15 minutes is no meditation. Sitting for half an hour is no meditation. Minimum 1 hour. 1 hour is the minimum that you require to meditate. I mean, if you are into serious meditation, 1 hour is minimum. So now you need a posture that can help you sit for an hour without changing your posture, because when you change your posture, there is disturbance in the mind. So what you are doing is getting cracked. That shouldn't be permitted. And that is why the kind of asanas that Indians do, like the way normally we sit on the floor, and particularly Ardha Padmasana or Sukhasana, these are considered to be extremely good asana. However, it varies from person to person. But these are the two most common, and Padmasana is slightly difficult. But if you start practicing on a hard floor, with some kind of soft mat, you get used to it. And after 5, 10, 15 minutes, you will not have any feeling of your leg there. So it doesn't disturb. Initially, it disturbs, later, it doesn't disturb. There should not be any kind of external disturbance like fear of falling down, fear of mosquitoes coming, fear of some other insects crawling upon you. So going into the forest and sitting is very risky thing. Thoughts come, whatever whatever you have been doing, the kind of life you are into, what you saw in dreams, and what you did years ago, what you aspire for, what your fears are, they all start coming during meditation. Something will come today, some will come tomorrow. Certain hits that you had, certain misses that you had, certain aspirations that you had, certain obsessions that you have, about which you may not even be aware. All these things come, and they can be extremely disturbing. Sometimes people get frightened by the thoughts that come. But the favorite example of the teachers is that if there is an ink pot, a bottle that contained ink, it has dried up, you start clean up. I use fountain pen. I still use fountain pen. And sometimes when I'm not using a fountain pen for some time, the ink dries up. Then to save the nib from getting ruined, I have to wash the pen. So naturally, I have three, four, five pens. So when I start washing, the ink, see, apparently you see nothing, but when you start washing, the ink keeps coming out, keeps coming out. You leave it in water for some time, even after that, ink keeps coming out. And then you wonder from where it's coming out. No, it's the process of cleansing. As you start meditating, the cleansing process begins. When those thoughts are coming, it only means that your mind has started cleaning up the garbage. The garbage that you had been carrying from many births, and definitely from this birth. Sometimes they take the form of imagination. Sometimes they take the form of absolute nonsense. But then they are there. And as you keep on practicing, as you keep on holding on to it, you find certain kinds of obstructions. Uh, What we are going to discuss next is obstruction. Obstructions in the path of yoga. And in the Yoga Sutras, those obstructions have been beautifully categorized. There is disease, nidra, sleep. You become lazy, sayan, body starts having tremors, bhranti darshan. This is the worst. You start getting visions. Bhranti darshan. People who get visions, mostly these are bhranti darshan, illusions. And likewise, those of you who are interested, we have one talk in the Raj Yoga on obstacles. You can listen to that talk. This is one path. Here we are discussing Mandukya Karika, and this Mandukya Karika is about Jnana Marg, where the process of meditation is radically different from what Raj Yoga says or what we discussed till now. In this meditation, you are trying to think that you are Atman. Of course, you can take the help of what we discussed, taking up a mantra, meditating on it, and doing japam. But Gyan yogis, people who practice Upanishadic meditation, now their number is very, very, very few. And I personally don't subscribe to that view. It's not a good form. Now, I asked many monks in the Himalayas about this, and they all said that no, they prefer doing japam. So they meditate on the thought that they are pure Atman, pure consciousness. And any thought that is alien to this master thought is struck down. So you'll see that the idea remains the same. Your mind has to stay fixed on the object of meditation, whether that is some form of God or the idea that you are one with Brahman. Any other thought that arises during meditation is an alien thought and must be struck down. Okay, you have been striking down, and imagine that you have advanced a bit. Naturally, you will make advancement. Advancement may start coming within 2 3 months of doing yoga sadhana. 3 months is a long time for practice. If you are practicing regularly for maybe 1 hour a day and maybe 1 hour twice a day, then within 3 months you should be getting some results. Some results, very basic, but results will be there. They have to be there. Most important result is that your mind will become focused, and there will be some element of detachment in you, and your words will become powerful. People will start listening to you. You will be able to take quick decisions. You'll start becoming insightful. You'll start becoming calm from within. The general tendency that you have to think that you are not well, you are not healthy, these thoughts go away because slowly your mind starts moving away from your body. These are the immediate results, and you'll find that maybe within 6 months or a year, if you are continuing with your practice, you think of something and that happens, even if it's something unusual. Now, we don't know how exactly it happens, but it happens. Sometimes it may so happen that you say something which is absolutely unusual and it happens. These are known as yogic powers. These are not important, but they show that you are not the old self. Above everything, a sense of detachment comes. Like earlier, you might have noted kids who are, say, maybe 4 year old, 5 year old, they get tremendously obsessed with whatever they are doing. If they are happy, they are happy. If they are sad, they are sad. If they are crying, they are crying. If they want to play, they want to play. And they don't like any kind of disturbance in whatever they are doing. There is some kind of urgency with them. There is some kind of impatience with them. Their anger, joy, everything is like that. When we grow up, we continue to be like that. As you meditate, these bonds from the world start loosening up. Imagine yourself tied with a tight rope. You can't move your limbs, can't move your body, you can't move your head. You're suffocating. Well, that's how we are in this world. Now, as you start meditating, slowly, slowly, this tightness of rope starts slackening. You become slightly loose, slightly loose. You can, as if, move your limbs and all. And a time comes when you don't feel that bond anymore, that bondage anymore. Are relatively free. You can freely move your limbs. But even that is not ultimate freedom. Now think, I'm using a very simple example. Think that your East is Sri Krishna. It means your chosen deity, your God is Sri Krishna. And you do japam of his mantra, the mantra that's given to you by your guru, whatever mantra that might be. In fact, there are many mantras that are devoted to Lord Krishna. And supposing you keep on doing japam of that mantra and meditate, say, on Lord Krishna. As you do japam, you see that your guru might have told you how to keep the count. They say you have to count, you have to keep the count of the number of times you are performing japam. And as your mind becomes calm and your mind becomes intense, you realize that you really cannot keep the count properly. That's quite possible. Perfectly all right. If you feel that your mind stays fixed with your Lord, then it's perfectly all right to keep on doing inner japam. You don't have to worry much about keeping the count. And then begins the tricks. Under normal condition, those of you who are into meditation would know that when you close your eyes, there is complete darkness within. And you open your eyes, there is this phenomenal world, a world of phenomena. Phenomena means where everything is changing all the time. There is that objects interacting upon objects and subject, that is you looking at those objects and getting identified with those things. So this world of phenomena, world of phenomena outside and the darkness inside, this is common with nearly everyone. And believe me, dear listeners, those who meditate, they don't even meditate on God. Most of them keep on meditating on some kind of imagination, or they meditate on some picture. I keep on telling that your guru told you to meditate, say, on Lord Krishna, and you meditate on some picture of Lord Krishna. But your guru never told you to meditate on picture of Krishna. They asked you to meditate on living Sri Krishna. In earlier times, there were no pictures. And much before that, there were not even statues. So there were only words, and they could form a picture. And that is why Upanishadic meditations were more popular in those days. But now we have aids to meditation like pictures and statues. If you keep on meditating only on the picture of, say, Lord Krishna, you will end up becoming a picture, nothing more than that. And if you keep on meditating on the statue of Lord Krishna, you will end up being just a statue. No, that's not meditation. Meditation is where you see living Krishna. Just to give you an example, you're looking at me right now. What are you looking at? A picture, a moving picture, a video. If you think of me, you'll find a different kind of frame coming. If you see me in dream, that will be entirely different kind of frame. When you see me, the picture that you see, what you see is entirely different. That's because of the different pathways that the brain uses. There's the picture. There might be three-dimensional picture. There might be imagination. There might be dreams. There might be actual seeing. In meditation, you have to focus on the actual seeing. However, what we see in dreams is quite lifelike. So, in case you got some dream of your God, your Ishta, you can meditate on that, because at least there will be some kind of three-dimensional representation. I wonder if I am clear to all of you. I hope I am. The funny thing begins after that. Once you reach that state where you can feel the living presence of your Ishta, your God, then different kinds of obstacles start coming. And these are the real obstacles. What we discussed, like obstacles like diseases and body tremor and sense of stupor and laziness, etc. These are Bhranti Darshan, these are very basic. When you advance, the obstacles are also quite advanced. And most students of spirituality get stuck up here. A larger number gets stuck up with the problems that we discussed earlier. Either there's Vyadhi, Stayana, Nidra, etc. Those who proceed, they get stuck up in what we are discussing. Those of you who might have studied, might have read my book, Tia. Tia is basically a spiritual book. It's about spiritual journey. And that's why you find that different beings, different folks, they are stuck up in different setup. You need to break through. So what are those? First one is known as laya. Sanskrit term laya. Laya means when your mind becomes absorbed in certain thing, but it is some kind of stupor. It's a particular kind of dullness. Those of you who have done deep meditation would know that unless you have done deep meditation, you will not understand it. It's kind of self-hypnosis. And sometimes you may fall asleep. You are meditating and you are thinking of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna, I'm using just a term. And you might go into a state of hypnosis, self-induced hypnosis. And you think that you are doing it big, but no, you are totally stuck up. Similarly, sometimes it so happens that supposing you are meditating, say, on Lord Krishna, and everything is all right. You are seeing his feet, torso, neck, head, everything. Now you are able to meditate on the whole form of Lord Krishna. Perfectly all right. Suddenly you find that from nowhere, some kind of fly comes and sits on the face of the Lord. But it is imagination. And you are not even able to make that fly move away from there. You cannot make it fly away. This is a kind of problem one faces. Those of you who have done meditation would know probably all this. So there's a kind of stupor. You're not able to, it's okay. But no, it's not okay. You have to proceed further. You have to proceed further. Then what happens? Next stage is lay, is vikshape. Your mind has become more intense, more intense. And suddenly, some kind of worldly distraction is there. You think of something and it distracts you. Some desire, something, some kind of thought, it distracts you. It comes to most yogis, those who practice meditation and those who are at higher level. These are not ordinary kind of obstructions. Laya, vikshape. Third one is extremely dangerous. It is known as kashaya. Kashaya is a particular taste. For example, when you take uh, haritaki, its taste is known as kashaya. It's a special. It's not really bitter. It gives you a different kind of taste. In this case, what happens? Kashaya is extremely dangerous. In this, you get an extremely deep attraction for something from the past. It may be some idea. It may be maybe you were angry with somebody in the past, and suddenly that thought comes. You cannot get over it. Just can't. Similarly, you had loved somebody, you loved your mother, or you had some friend, and your mind goes all out, and then you say that I must contact this person, and then whole thing gets disturbed. But we are talking at a higher level. We are not talking about ordinary people. So there is laya, then there is vikshep, and there is kashaya. And the fourth is rasa swada. You aswad, you taste rasa. In this case, what happens? You don't get the vision of God, you don't get self knowledge, but there is some kind of temporary bliss. There's a difference between laya and rasaswad. Laya is stupor, and in rasaswad is some kind of bliss. But that is temporary, because after a few days that will vanish. So many great yogis they mistake rasaswad with ultimate realization. Mandukya Karika here discusses these four kinds of obstruction. First, it says in verse number 41, it clears mind has to be emptied, mind has to be cleaned up. While cleaning up, four kinds of obstructions will come. Karika does not discuss here the kind of process taken up for meditation, which we find in Raj Yoga. It doesn't even discuss the problems that we face. It simply discusses the higher obstacles. But I felt that I should make things clear, and the whole thing should be brought on a single platform. In case you have any question, you can ask. Let me see. Okay. In case you have any question, you can ask. The bottom line is the ideal that you have chosen for meditation, whether that is Aham Brahmasmi or some East, some mantra that your guru gave, you need to focus on that. You need to stick with that. Think of the words that your guru said, because no guru will tell you the wrong thing. There's a very famous saying, there is never a bad student, there are only bad teachers. In spirituality, there are never bad teachers, there are only bad students. Abhishek Niyogi, was the blank darkness experience in meditation? Is it natural? Where is did I discuss blank darkness? Blank darkness is it if you mean to say that the first stage, you close your eyes, what do you see? You see darkness, you don't see anything. You don't see your Easter, do you? You don't. That's the normal process. Your mind, by you, I mean mind too. Our minds so active that every time you shut your eyes for meditation, you see nothing. It's all blank. It only means that we are yet to begin. Only when you start taking, say, for example, somebody goes, I'm just Om Namah Shivaya. Suppose Guru has given this mantra and asked him to meditate on Shiva. You go on saying Om Namah Shivaya and you see only darkness within. At the best, you can imagine some picture that you might have seen of Shiva or of some mountain Shiva is sitting. But that is not yet meditation. You have to keep on struggling with it. First, you start doing something, you see. Well, only theoretical thing will not take you far. Not far, it will not take you anywhere. Anyway, there is no question, so I proceed with my talk. Says, what are the other things required? Says, Upayana nigriniyat vikshiptam kamo bhogayo suprasannam laya cheva yata kamo layas tatha. Mind distracted by desires. Mind is always distracted by desires. Now, desires ultimately result in fulfillment, and that is enjoyment. So, you have desires, you have enjoyment, should be brought under control. You should not allow your mind to run wild by proper means. Proper means, for that, I'll suggest you to listen to our Raj Yoga talks. So, also the mind enjoying pleasure in inactivity. This is the problem, the great obstacle. So, you have two things, Rajogun. Because of Rajogun, you want to run after enjoyment. Because of Tamogun, you want to live in a stupor. What's the best form of stupor? The best example that I can give you is that those of you who have read Tia, the opening line itself is that it says, "Good morning, good people," and then it is lying flat, and he's wondering why all the birds keep flying away early morning without enjoying whatever is there. It's a beautiful description of liar. Supposing you had a very good sleep, and then you go into a snooze mode. You're just lying down, half awake, half asleep, thinking, sometimes thinking of God, sometimes thinking of good things. Oh, mind is this is liar. This is some kind of stupor. This is some kind of self-hypnosis. But this is extremely enjoyable. And because it is enjoyable, it is an obstacle. During meditation also this happens. During meditation, mind goes into the state of liar. The idea is that mind should not be either in an inactive mode, that is passive mode, nor in an active mode. That is, your mind is running wild. I have to do this, I have to plan this, I must, things like that. Mind must not go into either of these. A famous statement of Yoga Sutra, Chitta Vritti Nirodh. The thoughts that arise in your mind need to be controlled. What are the problems in that? One is your mind tends to become hyperactive. Second one is mind tends to become passive. Neither must be permitted. Neither passivity nor hyperactivity. How to do it? Pull your mind back to your ideal. If you are thinking of yourself as Atman, as taught by your Guru, not by what you pick up by listening here and there, focus on that. If you have got mantra from a Guru, focus on that. Keep on doing japam. 1,000 times every time you sit. 5,000, 10,000 times. Your mind will be doing so much of it. It's like bodybuilding. When you go to gym, you keep on doing certain exercises and your muscles start building. When you do japam, your spiritual muscles start developing. Then slowly this kind of tendency where during meditation your mind is running wild or your mind is going into some kind of stupor stops. And where mind runs wild, always towards enjoyment, always towards desires. This is the first obstacle that we face. How to get rid of that? There are different ways. First is you think of your Easter, think of your ideal. Secondly, dukkham sarvam anusmritya kama bhogat nivartayet. Ajam sarvam anusmritya jatam naivatu pashyati. Just to remind you, we are discussing a a commentary on the Upanishads. So they are mostly discussing things that are related to Atma Gyan. This is Gyan Marg that we are discussing. So the ideals that are mentioned here belong to Gyan Marg. It says, whenever your mind runs after enjoyment, whenever your mind runs after desires, whenever you think of something enjoyable, remember, dukkham sarvam anusmritya. Remember that every desire has its origin in pain, continues in pain, and ends in pain. The example that they give is when you want to make money, first you have to struggle a lot. You have to labor a lot. You have to struggle a lot. That means through much, through a lot of pain, you earn money. And when you have wealth, you are always scared that income tax people may come or enforcement directorate may attack you, may make raids if you have a lot of wealth. Or people from charitable organizations like us can approach you for some donation. So, like somebody may come and take. Might have heard of famous film actor Charlie Chaplin. I heard about him that he had married two, three times. I think maybe more. I don't remember the details. So once when he was about to have divorce, he left a particular state in America and went to some other state just to avoid those legal problems where he may have to lose money. Now, all over the world, they are making divorces difficult just by imposing such kind of division of wealth that people say that it is better to maintain a wife than to have a divorce. So you're always worried that you may lose your wealth. And once your wealth goes away, again you are in pain. Earning wealth is pain, maintaining wealth is pain, and once you lose wealth is pain. This kind of thought, if you keep on thinking, same about other desires. Every desire has its root in pain, it continues in pain, and it ends in pain. If you keep on reminding this, your obsession with desires will go away. Your mind will also become clear of. You will not be running after desires. And because you are not running after desires, your mind will not be creating thoughts about desires. How? Ajam sarvam anusmritya jatam naivatu pashyati. Turn back the mind from the enjoyment of desires, remembering that they beget only misery. Do not see the created objects, remembering that all this is unborn Atman. This is the specialty of Mandukya Karika. Now, here, Mandukya Karika will not be explaining how to focus on your Ishta, your chosen deity. Mandukya Karika will say that remember that everything is unborn Atman. The discussion from day one, when we started today's 40th talk, we have delivered too many talks. One thing that was discussed repeatedly was that Atman is the ultimate reality and that it is unborn. It is unborn, it is undecaying, and it is undying. When I think of this pen, so essentially it's Brahman. It has certain utility. It has a particular color, it has a particular form. But I also know that what this pen can do, more or less, other pen can also do. So my obsession for this pen is not much. But when you run after your desires, when you are running after objects or persons, you think that there is something very special about it. But if you are a student of Mandukya Karika, if you have studied Mandukya Upanishad thoroughly, you will know that unborn Brahman, which is Aja, the infinite Brahman, that's ultimate reality, and everything else that is there, everything that I consider to be special, is in reality Brahman. So why run after it? You need to have a healthy body. You need rice and dal in Indian setup. Now, people who have lots of money, they like to have biryani. Once it so happened that I was in Delhi and one of my friends had invited me. So the question was, what kind of food would you like to have? I had to take lunch at their home. Will you prefer continental or Chinese or something? I don't even know what is continental food. I don't know what is Chinese food. I've never taken all those things. Being a monk here at the Ramakrishna Mission, I only know what is rice and what is dal. I said, don't you have anything Indian? Oh, Indian. You like to have Indian food? I mean, it was some kind of surprise. Or maybe I'm exaggerating. I'm not sure. The important thing is to have a full belly. With that full belly, you are going to continue the activities of the whole day. Why worry so much? The food should be wholesome, easily digestible, and healthy. Finished. This is what every book of spirituality will tell you. Never pay attention to anything that has some value of enjoyment. You need certain things. You need to drink water. You need to have food. You need to sleep. You need a bed. You need some shelter. That's all right. But doesn't mean that you need a palace and you need the most expensive of mattresses and most expensive food, etc. No, you shouldn't. Because if you are hankering after that, you will need extra money. For that, you will have to work extra. You will have to labor. And there will be distraction. And when you meditate, you will be complaining you didn't get the right food, etc. So, it says that think of Brahman, think of the chosen ideal, and bring your mind repeatedly there. And then there will be the problems which we mentioned. This we will take up in the next talk. But anyway, it's over. 3, 4 verses are there. And then we enter the last Alat Shanti, the peace. Om Shanti Shanti.